It's been over 30 days since the hype around the Fitbit Air started, and it was so massive that a few days ago, even Whoop had to drop their hardware-linked subscription, but we'll get into that in a second. I wanted to find out how good this thing actually is, because I noticed quite a few mistakes in reviews from some really big YouTubers, so this video isn't about the specs you've already heard 100 times, but about my real everyday experience, especially compared to other trackers. We are talking about absolutely everything, how good the accuracy and the app are, whether features like the smart alarm actually work, and if you might actually still need that subscription. So here's my honest review of the Fitbit Air 30 days after the hype. Before we get into everything else, let's start with the most important point that everything else is built on, the data. Because even though some of the sensors come from over 6-year-old Fitbit bands, they're surprisingly good, and so you don't have to dig through all the tests and reports yourself. I literally spent hours analyzing and compiling all the data, so this is probably the most precise overview you'll find. Let's start with heart rate, because that is basically the most important metric that all other stats are based on, and the Fitbit Air tracks that surprisingly well. Just to give you a few examples of the accuracy, compared to a chest strap, the overlap is 89% while running, even 99% while cycling, and even for strength training, the measurements are pretty accurate. But in my eyes, the biggest advantage is that your heart rate is measured every 2 seconds in everyday life, and even every second during workouts, because especially with this band form factor, you really don't want to start activities manually, so with the Air you can either rely on pretty solid automatic detection, or since it measures every 2 seconds anyway, you can just log the activity later. I also looked at all the other metrics like heart rate variability, resting heart rate, and step count. Here's a quick summary so it doesn't get too long, but I've also linked a much more detailed overview at the end of the video and down in the description. So when it comes to the accuracy, you really don't have to make any compromises with the Fitbit Air. Despite its price point, almost everything is spot on. So let's talk about the device itself before you dive into the app and all the other details, because the size of this thing genuinely surprised me in the best way. The Fitbit Air is only half as thick as a Whoop or a typical smartwatch and significantly lighter too, which means you feel it about 20% less on your wrist. Of course, a compact size usually comes with 3 potential downsides. We've already talked about number 1, so let's move on to number 2 and 3. As for battery life, I was actually really surprised, because the Fitbit Air easily hits the promised 7 days, sometimes even a bit more, so you don't have to worry about that. Charging is another major plus, because thanks to the solid metal contacts, it charges fully in about 25 to 40 minutes, which is way faster than many other trackers. Only Whoop handles this slightly better with this clip-on charging puck. The vibration motor, on the other hand, is where I have some complaints. First off, it's pretty weak. It's enough to wake you up, but the real issue is how you turn it off. A simple tap on the device stops it, which happens way too easily by accident, or while you are still half asleep. What I would really love to see is an option that forces you to turn off the alarm on your phone, just to make sure you actually get out of bed. So definitely drop a like on this video, so that someone at Google sees this. Oh, and subscribe to the channel so we can hit 10k subs this year. You can always unsubscribe later if my next video sucks. Now let's talk about the app, because I have quite a bit to say here. Starting with the positives, I think the design is extremely well done. Everything has a very consistent design language, and the individual categories are easy to navigate. Where it does frustrate me though are these endless text blocks. Don't get me wrong, some of the tips are actually useful, and I like that the coach proactively reaches out when it needs more context from me, but because Google pasted these text paragraphs literally everywhere and you can't hide them, it honestly feels like you are reading a Wikipedia page about your own body sometimes. Thankfully, Google already announced that they are going to shorten these text blocks a bit, but overall I still prefer Whoop's approach with clear numbers up front. However, where the Fitbit definitely beats Whoop is how compact everything is. With Whoop, some categories can feel a bit cluttered, and sometimes it shows you the exact same data twice using different metrics, which isn't exactly great for a quick overview. So in that regard, I definitely prefer the cleaner layout of the Health app. But since we are already right in the middle of comparing things, let's just make it a dedicated category, the comparison against all the other trackers on the market, and which one you should buy for what. And after that, we'll obviously talk about the news regarding the Whoop subscription. But first, and please don't skip this, an offer from one of my partners where you can currently get a VPN, antivirus and data leak scanner all in one, starting starting at just 37 cents a month per device, and that's NordVPN. With the link in the video description and the code ReviewStudios, you currently get a 76% discount and 4 months completely for free on top. And I know you've probably seen a ton of NordVPN ads already, so I'm not here to force you on anything or tell you how great it is, because right now you can literally try NordVPN completely risk-free for 30 days thanks to their money-back guarantee. I will leave the link to the offer in the description so you can check it out after the video. Like I said, I can only recommend it, otherwise I wouldn't promote it, but for now let's get back to the Fitbit Air. The main reason why this thing got so much hype in the first place is of course the price, with just 99 bucks, and since we already cleared up that you don't have to make any compromises on data accuracy despite the low price, and that the app is actually great too, it raises the question, do you even need any of the other options? I've put together an overview of when you should buy what, because besides that band form factor, you obviously still have typical smartwatches and rings, but also devices like these fitness bands from Xiaomi. Surprisingly, these weren't mentioned in a single video about the Fitbit Air, even though they're targeting the exact same audience, just at half the price again. And honestly, I used to think that for that price they couldn't be possibly any good, but it turns out the accuracy is actually more than enough, especially for the price. Because let's be real, most people just want some basic health data anyway, so I wouldn't underestimate these Xiaomi bands, especially since you get a few smartwatch features on top of that too. When it comes to rings and smartwatches though, I would still recommend a watch over a band for anyone who is into running, hiking or cycling, because being able to see metrics like your heart rate zones or your life pace in real time matters a lot there. But if you just want a tracker that monitors your body 24/7, tracking your strain, sleep and all that stuff, then alongside the Whoop, the Fitbit Air is honestly your best choice right now. The price is just unbeatable for almost identical tracking quality, especially because you absolutely do not need the subscription in my opinion. There's one exception though, where you should still go with Whoop, and that's if you want to push your fitness, health and performance to the absolute limit, because only with Whoop you get those strict metrics that don't forgive any mistakes in your daily life, which pushes you hard, but you have to be ready to make actual lifestyle changes, because if you don't cut out bad habits like poor sleep or alcohol, you might as well save your money, because your entire app is just going to be red. And for anyone who finds that interesting, but was always annoyed by the expensive subscription model, there's actually some great news. Because of the massive competition, Whoop is actually phasing out the hardware subscription model in several regions. In Australia, for example, you now buy the hardware up front, just like with the Fitbit Air, and then pick a subscription on top of that. And sure, technically you still need a subscription, but the new model has two massive benefits. First of all, you actually own hardware now, which means you can resell it later if you want to, or just buy a used tracker for way cheaper in the first place, because honestly, I don't even know what could break on a plastic pack anyway. And secondly, if this rollout goes well, Whoop might follow Aura's lead and eventually unlock the 3 main scores for recovery, strain and sleep without a subscription. Until then, you can use the graphic to figure out which tracker is best for you. For most people, it's probably going to be either the Xiaomi Band or the Fitbit Air right now. No matter what you choose, even if you just use it to buy your toilet paper, I've put Amazon links down in the description. That way I get a small commission on anything you buy within 24 hours, which helps me keep funding all these devices I pay for out of my pocket. So feel free to bookmark the top link in your browser, so every time you shop, you'll automatically be supporting the channel. And like I mentioned earlier, the Fitbit Air overview and the link to the NordVPN deal are also down in the description. It's completely risk-free for 30 days, so definitely check it out. I would say that's it for today. Since you've all obviously subscribed by now, I will see you next week. Have a great day and bye.